We've listened to some music, we've talked about and thought about what music is, what your opinion of music is. So let's talk about what your book thinks music is. The definition of music in your book is sound that is humanly patterned or organized. And I want you to remember that. Sound that is humanly patterned or organized. I believe it's on page 7 or 8 in your textbook. That is a definition that was given by an ethnomusicologist called Black. We're going to talk more about what the term ethnomusicologist means in a second. So, music is art. It is a sound, not painting, not drawing, not sculpture, that is humanly patterned or organized. So it's humans arranging sound. It has human intention on it. So if we think back about the pieces that we listened to, the piece by John Cage where there really was no sound, or was there? That's the question. And then the postal workers canceling stamps. So John Cage said, here's the beginning of this piece, here is the end of this piece, and whatever happens in between is the piece. But he doesn't specify what sounds are to occur, or perhaps silences. We can have music with silence as well as sound. So is that enough to make music music? That's a question you have to answer for yourself. And that's the question John Cage was posing. You might decide that you actually need to make a sound. That's possible. John Cage is a real composer. He has other works. He has a piece that is going on right now, an organ in Europe that is supposed to go on for 500 years. Every few months or a few years, they change one of the pitches. It's the longest piece in the world. He studied music at UCLA with another famous composer named Arnold Schoenberg, and he is a real composer. So that was something he was challenging us to think about. He's also a Zen Buddhist, and he was also a mushroom aficionado. So he was a really interesting guy. So is that enough to make that piece music? That's a question you need to answer. The second piece, the postal workers, well, that had pitches, that had rhythm, it had harmony, it had all the things that we think would be part of music. And the person who recorded that heard it happening and ran and said, can I record you making music? And he got his reel-to-reel tape deck because it was 1970 when he recorded that. He recorded it in Ghana, which is a country in Africa. And the postal worker said, you're welcome to record us, but we're not making music. Now, all of us would think, of course that's music, but why did they think they weren't making music? Because there wasn't any dancing, there weren't any drums, there wasn't a costume, there wasn't a performance. In their cultural context, music needs all of those things to be music. Otherwise, it's just kind of sounds that they're making. It doesn't meet the definition in their minds of music. So what music is really moves and changes from culture to culture. And as we are going to study various cultures, they are going to have different ideas about music. So for this week, I want you to think about what is your idea about music. We already answered that in question 1. And I wanted you to answer that before we had this discussion, but you're going to think about that a little bit more deeply as we move on. What I want you to think about is the sounds around you. Your book calls this a soundscape. Now, a soundscape is not music. A soundscape are the sounds around you. I like to use the example of Chipotle. If you've gone into a Chipotle and you're listening to the sounds around you, there's usually some pretty loud, aggressive music, and the environment of the Chipotle is pretty kind of harsh too. It's steel, it's wood, the chairs aren't comfortable. They don't want you to stay there. They want you to get your food, either eat it there quickly or take it somewhere else to eat it. It's supposed to be a place where you don't stay. They want people in and out very fast. But lots of places have soundscapes. If you go to a baseball game, that's a very specific soundscape. If you're in a library, that's a very specific soundscape. So I want you to take some time this week and listen. Spend 10 minutes in one place and just think, what sounds am I hearing? What are the sounds of my environment? What's the world like around me? Soundscapes are not music. Music has human intention on it. Music is something that is humanly created and humanly envisioned and humanly consumed. A bird song is not considered music unless you're a tribe in Papua New Guinea that believes that the bird song are the songs of your ancestors, and then it does have human intention. So as we said earlier, all of this has cultural context, and we're going to talk about so many different cultures as we explore this. And the last thing I want to talk about is the idea of ethnomusicology. I used that term a little bit ago, and I want you to understand what that is. Musicologists are people who study music, but historically, musicologists have only studied the music of Western European cultures and classical, like popular music in Western European cultures. All the other musics are usually studied by someone called an ethnomusicologist. Ethnomusicologists study how people make music. They study how people make the ideas about music, what they think music is, and they also study how people literally make the music, the act of creating the sounds that are the music. So this semester, we are going to be ethnomusicologists. We're going to study music from a wide variety of cultures. We're going to study their ideas about the music. We're also going to study the sounds that they make.